Just finding that nice, comfortable place for your posture. Head is slightly tipped forward. And just make sure that your forehead, your jaw, neck and shoulders, the place we store tension, is as relaxed as possible. If you'd like, you could place your palms. Traditionally, the palms are like this, face up, right palm on the left, thumbs pressed together. So the arms go out a little bit. It's right against the body, okay? So again, this closes off this little bodhicitta vein on the palm. It's a subtle vein on the palm of the thumb, they say, that runs down in your subtle energy system. When you press together, it tends to shut off delusion in your mind. It shuts off imbalances in the mind. It can be an opener for the heart chakra, energy center at the heart. But you experiment with what's comfortable. There's different variations. And the lips are lightly together, the teeth slightly apart. Make sure your shoulders are not up by your ears. If you're seated in a chair, have your feet straight down, flat on the floor, or place a cushion under them if that's more comfortable for you. Give yourself over to this space of stillness, of just being for a moment. You may notice thoughts swimming through. Let them swim. We're not restraining. Sometimes in meditation, I just allow to be and just watch the thoughts that arise, but without placing any more importance on one or the other, and just letting them go. And imagine your day, your week, and these long lists of stressors appear, one after another, from this news site, from that app, from this message, from this email, this link, over and over. And you come right back to the breath. I don't need to tend to that right now. I have the rest of my day for that. Let me release myself from that for a moment, for as long as you like. You breathe in, you release. You breathe out, you release. Sometimes you may want something more positive to breathe in. You breathe in hope, perhaps. As I exhale, I release despair. I breathe in joy. As I exhale, fear. I breathe in serenity. I exhale distraction. Put it into your own words. What would you like to bring into your experience, and what would you like to release? And you get out of balance during your day, during your week. Your mind goes negative or confused or depressed. Check your motivation. Every morning I wake up and I try to direct my mind and my energy towards something positive that is going to move me along this path to full awakening, to becoming a Buddha, or whatever that means to you, whatever kind of wonderful balance you like to have in your mind, in your life, happiness, that. But for me, the real reason to want to reach that state is because then I can unlimitedly help all living beings. And I found from my own practice and checking and investigation, that's when I'm happiest. So you have to check for yourself, when are you deeply content, that kind of happiness? Okay? So take a moment, think about your motivation, because when I lose sight of it during the day and I'm railing about something in my mind, I'm not happy, I see this thing in the news, how does this happen? How tragic, how horrible. I come back to my motivation. What can I do about it? We'll talk more about that. If I'm doing everything I can do and have this bigger focus, benefit to help others, if I keep thinking, how can I help? How can I be most helpful? The balance comes back. You have to check. Okay, so take a moment right now to set a good motivation for our time together, as well as any time left of the rest of your day, that you'll have this most positive space of mind, but more and more, if it's possible, directed towards helping others unlimitedly. Take a moment, set that motivation. And sometimes when you're bringing your mind to your breath, to just quiet yourself down, to calm yourself down, maybe just to give yourself some space, which you all deserve. Sometimes it's as simple as I inhale, I'm here. I exhale, now. I inhale, I'm here. Exhale, now. Inhale here, now. So we're going to talk about these different things you listed. And I just right now, let's bring up the word as you're meditating. Just explore. Just the way I wrote them down, one word is at the top and it's division. Division wasn't the first word that was said. It's like to think about the word division right now, how that's manifesting in your world. And as you sit here calmly, maybe you're not feeling that calm, that's okay. I'd like you to analyze a little bit how division is working right now in your mind, in your life, in your household, in your family, workplace, community, and neighborhood. And expand outwards, larger, larger in the world, on the planet. Now, I'd also like you to explore the opposite of that in your mind, in your body, in your living space, family, meaning where is there connection and community? Where is that in your household, in your family, your community and neighborhood, in your workplace, your town and city, and further out? Where have you heard about it on the planet? And hold these images in your mind. Can you expand them in your life, in your world, and contribute to them as much as you can? Connection, community. So please relax. Slowly, when you're ready, please open your eyes. So, one thing I wanted to mention regarding this, what happens is and I'm just curious, how does it feel, just the little sitting that we did? How does it feel in general? You uncomfortable? No, comfortable? More comfortable? Okay. So we don't allow ourselves a lot of time to be still, to stop for a moment. But when we do, it feels good. Most people say it feels good. Now I understand in the beginning you're not meditating every day, your knee hurts, your back hurts. Again, sit on a chair, find a comfortable position. Again, familiarity with the position makes the position more comfortable. Familiarity with anything will make it more comfortable for you. Okay? So what happens is we say the word division, and I'm only picking up that word. We're going to go through these different words through the different classes. That one just jumped out. We have to be very, very skillful with our time, our life, our activities, especially our mind. Okay? I know I've said this in many classes, but it's really, really important. And I'm knowing just from my own work of what I'm doing on my own mind. Okay? So you have to be skillful of how you use your technology, right? Because a lot of garbage can come in that way. Okay? Not in a very controlled way. And there's division. So first of all, it starts with my mind is divided. Why? I'm multitasking. And this is one thing when I said, even this class, you come on about people, please, if you can, use your cameras, and because some people are used to, they grew up a computer in front of them, there's another thing here, they're messaging there, they got this on, they got the, it, it's too much for our minds to be peaceful. But we feel like we give ourselves over to it because everybody else is doing it. And then we have this, we have the FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. My friend said, look at that site, you should see, you don't want to be the last person to find out about some viral thing happening. Okay? Really? Is that where the peace and happiness is? What happens is we get caught up and we get addicted. So let's be skillful. Maybe you can retrain. And I was just in a really interesting meeting this past weekend. And there's a new person that's part of this meeting, and I really appreciate them. And they were saying, we were talking about different ways we're trying to communicate at the center, because the center's big, 108 acres. People are living all over the property. So if there's a water leak, it's helpful. The water happens to be outside my cabin. It's very easy for me to go onto a device, go to the certain WhatsApp group and say, there's a water leak. How do I turn this off? Okay. But what happens during your normal day when you're working, if that messaging system keeps going off with different emergencies, you become rattled inside. I become divided myself. My energy's divided. Oh, I'm working on this letter now. But oh no, what happened? And then I see the thing that happened. There's nothing I can do about it. It's something else on the property that I have nothing to do with. But there it is. And then I have concerns in my mind. Should I do something? Should I call that person? Is somebody on it? Does somebody, you know, and there's many ways this is happening to us all day long. So can you be more skillful? Let's look at the next couple weeks. If you're interested, this is about your happiness. Okay. So please participate as much as you can of what are the habits of what you're doing with your devices? You know, are they contributing to a good space of mind for you? Okay. You have to get real with yourself. I'm not going to analyze. I'm not going to have you, you know, check. I mean, you can, I'll definitely ask for comments. I'll definitely ask for comments in 2 weeks. I'd love to hear your comments about what you notice, what you are refining. This is your job to do, but I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. So it's you being honest with yourself of, yeah, I always go onto this app and I'm watching, you know, the dancing dog videos. Is that helpful for you? Right? Maybe if you need a little uplifting break for 5 minutes, but it goes on for half an hour. Be careful, it goes on for half an hour. People have told me. Suddenly they realize an hour went by. Is that what you want to do? Or what about that book you were going to read that could be useful? So again, and this isn't about shaming and it's not about you getting down on yourself. Let's get real and get honest. And you know what? It's courageous to do this. It's not easy. But so again, I start just looking at the division in my own mind. Okay, so I'm scattered. When I get scattered, what I tend to pick up on and mirror is all the scatteredness around me. So we do look at, you know, and here's another thing. How often do you check the news? Some people don't look at all. Some people don't look at it all. I always marvel at them. I'm always like, good for you in some ways. It's always the same, the news. They like to sensationally tell us about the really unfortunate things going on. So when I said to you, please think about some connection and community right now. You had some images, right? Was there anybody that didn't have any image of some kind of connection, community, something cohesively coming together in a good way? Anybody not have that? Okay, so everybody has something in mind. Okay. And the reason is, and this is something I really admired, they unfortunately took this out of the paper, but when I was living in Pennsylvania, I decided to get the Sunday newspaper delivered, the print newspaper. Who does that anymore, right? But the reason I did it is, thank you, Jeff, is and Shelley, the print newspapers disappearing. It will be gone soon, other than maybe the New York Times and whatever they have in Europe, but it'll soon be gone. Maybe the LA Times or the Washington Post. So I wanted to support that. I'm a little bit of an old-fashioned girl, so yet I can look at things online, but I got the print thing, and I would bring it in, and then one day on a Sunday, the Philadelphia Inquirer, a couple of years ago, I think it was, started a section. Maybe Shelley remembers this. It had a name. You know, each section has a name: sports, regional, whatever they call it. And it was something called Upbeat or something. It was all good news. It was a section just of positive events, not just in Philadelphia, around the country and around the world. And it would tell you about, I learned that in the Memphis, Tennessee area, there were people that they bought small refrigerators. It was pandemic, it was during the pandemic, small refrigerators, and they started filling them with free food. And they do this everywhere, right? Free food, and they had a sign, and they were all painted, the refrigerators, with flowers and sunflowers. And it was put into, you know, low income neighborhoods, and people could come get food that they needed. And they had started a nonprofit, and they had all these refrigerators that it grew from, on, and you could send, and I ended up sending a donation to them because of that. And it had a woman that she had started, and there she was, and there was another guy saving animals in a unique way in another place, and I sent him a small donation, and it was all these stories. So these things are happening. The news just isn't as interested in showing them. So how much time do you want the news in your mind? Okay. Because it accentuates the negative and it brings you down into this negative space. And there's division. Okay. So there is division. There is, but that's all we're choosing to see, because that's what is fed into us all the time, over and over and over. So again, protect your mind. I do look at the news. I think I look at the news a couple times a day, usually in the morning and at night. I was doing it more when I traveled because sometimes I was traveling to an area I needed to know what was going on in that area. So now a little bit less so, right? I do, like to know what's going on, but the news doesn't really change. And here was a little trick that I learned. That so I like to do retreat. I've done a number of retreats at a place called Laudo in Nepal. It's in the Mount Everest region of Nepal, and I've been up there many times doing retreat. And because it's hard to get to, I tend to go up for 3 to 5 months, the longest I can get the visa for. And I'm on retreat there. And so in the old days, there was no way to have any cell phones or faxes or anything. So I knew nothing for 4.5 months. All my mail was held down in Kathmandu. I would come down, and then I remember seeing the first newspaper there on a rack in some shop and basically all I found out in the last 4 months that I missed was two famous people had died, which is always happening, right? Two famous, and the war that was on this side of the planet was now on this side of the planet. That was basically the news. So having 4 months free of that in my mind and not wasting the time and not engage in any of that, I could do my retreats and not, and there really wasn't a whole lot that had changed. So you might say, well, what about 9/11? That was okay. Well, there's some more significant things that change. And the pandemic would be a more significant global thing like that. So again, but when you really look at the grand scheme of things all the time. So again, let's just be real with our reality, our technology. How do you want to deal with division? And this week, I'd love you to look at, and these 2 weeks until we meet again, a little exercise is where are you noticing it in your life? How's it manifesting in your body and mind? And then again, in your household, your family, in your neighborhood, in your community, at your workspace. And as you expand out, what's it like in your town, in your city? What do you notice about division? But here's the opposite is what do you notice? Can you specifically start noticing the coming together, the unity? Any unifying elements that are going on around you? People trying to engage in that. It could look like all different things. Could look like somebody buying somebody flowers and apologizing. That's connection. That takes away division. When you have a fight with somebody, somebody's upset like that. I mean, I was amazed at, Dharma centers aren't perfect. Dharma centers aren't perfect. People go, well, Buddhist center has problems. We're a nonprofit. And here's the thing about Buddhist centers, especially in our tradition, we're completely underfunded. When you don't have the money to fix the buildings and you don't have money to pay, it's very stressful. I've been at many Dharma centers living, it's very stressful. So people, they don't mean to, people here are really kind, they're great, but they get off balance, and then they feel kind of separated, division. And then when you feel separated, you make stories about people. You think they're doing this, but you don't talk to them about it, but you think. So I felt something going on, like just the last few weeks with this one person, but it's, I didn't want to make a big thing of it. But then I went, never mind all that of what I think. My story's not accurate. We're going to talk more about emptiness in future classes. How do I reorient myself better? What is emptiness about? And emptiness means my story's not correct at all. And I'll explain that when we talk about that. But so I realized I see these stories and I went, I don't really want to give a lot of airtime to them. I'm not sure they're accurate like that. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to get this person a gift, offer them a gift. And I'm going to write a nice note, just kind of apologizing if I disturb them in any way. And right. And I really went out, I got a basket and I found out, I tipped into what are their favorite things. Like, what do they like? Whether, and that's what I filled it with. And I really was into buying these things. I was really, it's like they were my best friend. I'm just like, I want to make and I've dropped off. And I sent them a little message to say, I'm dropping this off. Didn't expect to talk to them. I didn't need to hear how wonderful you are. No, I just wanted to make the offering. That was it. And then the thing is, it was outside their house. There are animals. Some of this stuff was perishable. So I had a little moment of like when I got down to my cabin of back to my cabin was oh, it could get go off, an animal could, and then I went, you know what? No, none of that matters. What matters is just making the offering that I really want to do this. Right? And an hour later, this doesn't happen. I got a message from them, and an email. How kind and it was like the nicest message I ever got from them. Connection, and then I saw them later another day. We were doing a practice together, but there were other people, and somehow, and then there was somebody turned to me, smiled, laughed. Connection, positive connection, community. It's easy to do. It's easy to do it. Or you can stay back in your thing. I don't like that person. That's a problem. They have a different opinion than me. So somebody said we come back to work, we've got different opinions. Yes, we do. Okay. Because that's the blessing of the United States of America, by the way. We are free to express ourselves in any way. Now we say, well, that's dangerous because people are expressing themselves with guns and with, okay, but on the good side, let's look at the positive side. There's always a bright side if we want to focus on it, right? Sometimes we're patterned not to focus on it. So this is practice of how to focus on that. Like, I live in a country, I can pretty much express anything I want to anybody as long as I'm not harming them. And I can go in the street and protest with a sign, whatever. There have been countries I've lived in. You're not allowed to do that. You are not free to do that. It's against the law. Can you imagine? That's not how we were raised. So it's glorious to have a place where you're free and look at how it's manifested in our behavior of being free. Now, you might say, well, it's gone too far, but we come from a free culture, and I thank God for that every day. Right? I also thank the Buddha for that every day, right? But truly, right? And here's the thing is, some of us haven't been outside the States or lived outside the States. I did attend a great Lama, Kirti Senchab Rinpoche. For 2 years, I went around the world with him, 2004 to 2006. It was right when I left California the last time, after I lived here for a while. And we went to Eastern Russia, Eastern Siberia, an area called Buryatia. It was fascinating, right? It's fascinating. The Buryats are more Asian. They look like Tibetans, and they were brutalized by the White Russians during the communist time, just like the Tibetans. All their monasteries were destroyed, and instead of 1.3 million, like the Tibetans, killed, they had about, I think, maybe between 10 and 30,000 of the monks especially killed in Buryatia in Eastern Russia. Okay, so I went to this region, and it's a male-dominated region. It's seriously, I've never been in that kind of, women are told what vocations they can go into, where they can sit. I mean, I was like and this great Lama turns up with not only a woman, right, but a white girl and a nun. And it was like 3 strikes, you're out. This was kind of the bottom of their culture. So for me, it was incredibly humbling and incredibly educational. I learned so much, and I came to love these people. Really, I could really enjoy them. And I think there came to be a somewhat mutual respect with a lot of them when they came to accept and realize, and a great cultural exchange that one of them said in the end, one of the head lamas there of, so again, it was, so to not have freedom, like I would walk into a gompa, always at the end after the whole chain of the lineage of the men, the hierarchy, and I would walk in, and then I would wait until somebody told me where I could sit. I couldn't, there were certain things that were off limits to me as a woman, like a holy shrine or a holy thing. So again, after that, I was like, the States, my life as an American woman, were about the freest there are. Okay. Now, it's not to say to look at what liberties might be changing. Okay. And then slowly, and we're going to talk more about this in the class of, so how do I respond? What do I do in that case? And we'll talk more about that. What do you do? What can you do like that? If you disagree with an opinion, disagree with something. Okay. So what I'd love you to do these next couple weeks is, again, now here's the second part. You're not just looking at unity unifying elements, connection, community. Okay, people coming together in positive ways, has to be in positive ways. Okay, or when something shifted, when there was division, but something shifted. What is it that shifted? Okay. And here's your second role really for you is what can you actively contribute to some unifying factor in your life? What can you actively contribute? What can you participate in? And I give you an example of just what I did. I'm not any great holy person. I'm not. Don't project that onto me. People put this stuff on monks and nuns, and I remember one time years ago, somebody was like, you know, saw me get angry. Oh, she got angry. She's a nun. I'm like, yep, I'm a human being, not a Buddhist. I'm not a Buddha. I'm a Buddhist, not a Buddha yet. Buddhist means I make mistakes. I'm a human being. Okay. So here's the thing is that my little gesture to my friend of a little offering, you know, that little thing that there, it was more like I was noticing and then I was trying to have positive thoughts about this person. Right. But then I went, no, you know what? I want to participate more fully. I'm gonna go out and get something. I want to do that. And I also, here's the second part of it. I'm not gonna have any expectation how it's gonna turn out. Like I'm not gonna wait for a thank you and to tell me how great I was and how much they love the this or that. No expectation. I just really want to make an offering and I want to make peace. This is how we harmonize the planet. Okay, it's our responsibility as much as we can. So what can you actually actively contribute? Get creative. Get creative. And those of you that want to share some of these ideas, you're going to help teach somebody else a thing. Maybe they're stuck. They don't know what to do in their workplace. I hate this guy that I work with. What do? I don't know how to budge him, you know. And so, and here's another thing. Oh, I wanted to bring in, have you ever read Brené Brown? I talk about her sometimes in classes. Brené Brown's a sociologist from Texas. Let me just see where I put, oh, I know, where I put this note. I really like this. I just wanted to read you this one little thing. Okay, here it is. Let's see. Let's see if I can find this. If not, I'll bring it in next week. Here we go. Okay, please remember this. I love this from her. You know, and we want to also in that connection and community, we want to belong to something. We want to be a part of something positive that we like. We feel comfortable in that. Some people have home, they call it like that. Some people call it family. Some people have communities where I've lived in some brilliant communities. Like I love that, you know, love my family like that. Okay. And so we have these divisions. We really want to belong to something. Here's some elements. Let me give you one element of true belonging. Now, the real way to belong is to let go belonging. You realize you don't belong to anything. Then you're free. Then you're happy. But let's look at an element of belonging. You ready for this? People are hard. This is from Brené Brown. People are hard to hate close up. People are hard to hate close up. Move in. So you're feeling disconnection. You're feeling division. There's this politician mouthing off about this or that. Now, you can't physically get close to them, possibly. Okay. What do you think their life is like? Have you ever thought about that? But maybe you just have a neighbor. Maybe it's your colleague. You cannot stand them. Okay. Move in. I'll give you an example. I think I've used this example before. When I was living in Pennsylvania, he still lives there. They're a wonderful family. Next door, the next door neighbor. Okay. The senior, the man who bought the house, moved in with his family when I was 14 years old. It was his second wife. His first wife died, leaving him with 2 kids. Okay. When they were 14, they moved from a neighborhood in Philadelphia to the suburbs, and he's remarried, right? And his son at 14 years old goes to school with me, is in a class with me. So unfortunately, his two kids lost their mother pretty young, teenagers or younger. He remarries. He has two more kids with his second wife, who is lovely. Okay. When he turns 70, she passes away of cancer. So he loses two wives, and she was much younger than him. You thought maybe she'd be there to take care of him. He loses two wives in one life. Okay. Fortunately, he's got four kids. They're nice, and one of them lives in that house with him and is raising his family there, and they're great. The wife is great. The kids are great. I'm very close with this family. Okay. But this father that I've known most of my life since I was 14, who's right, he's I might, venture forth to label. I know one person in my family labeled him the R word, that he's a racist. Okay. Well, he has an aspect of that. Now I can just see him like that. Okay. But again, move in and get close, and I know other things about him now. Right? I know about his kindness. I know how he interrelates with his family. He's very kind. I know how he loves his grandchildren. I've seen him as a grandfather. He's great. He's helpful to me. He looks out for me when I was living there. He would take me to the train so I could get the train to get to the bus to get to my classes in New York for the New York Center. He was very happy to give me a ride. Oh, anything he could do for me, he would do like that. So there's many different facets of people. I can hold on to that. Yeah, he's very conservative. I know his views. I could hold on to that, which are different than my views. There's the opinions, different than my views. The thing that makes life interesting is people have different views. How about that? If everybody thought like me, I think it'd be really, really boring. Okay? So he has different views, and sometimes we've talked about those views. And he listens because he's close with me and he likes me and we're friends. He will listen to what I'm saying and I will listen to him because we respect each other. So think about these little instances. You're holding somebody hard, difficult. They're always going to be like that forever. With emptiness, we know they're not inherently like that. Again, we will talk more about that in the future. So this is your participation. So that second part is, what can I contribute? How can I move my mind? What if I move in a little bit? Do I see it a little differently now? I think I mentioned to some of you in other classes. So when Trump became president, there was a large core of the states, as you know, that were extremely rattled by that. People kind of wondering, how did that happen? And some people were happy, okay? But the people that were rattled, and a number of them were talking about it, and they came into classes, and they were like, how can this happen? I'm moving, I'm going to Canada, whatever they were doing. Okay. But I would started thinking about him in the White House, and it was hard to know what kind of relationship he had with his wife. That didn't seem to be great, but I don't know. But then they said his wife and his son were not living with him for a while because his son was finishing the school term. And that there were a lot of aides around him that were kind of just being yes people to kind of placate him, from his personality. So I kind of visualized him just kind of wandering the White House at night by himself and kind of lonely and then I read some story in the paper that that's what he was kind of doing. Like it was kind of not like maybe not a real happy person. So then you have a little bit more compassion. If I just want to hold him out there as this cardboard cutout evil, then my mind gets engaged with that and I'm not peaceful. He doesn't know anything about it, but I'm not peaceful. Okay. So this is about me opening my heart and mind, which for the Tibetan, heart and mind is all here, is all in one place. Even the subtle mind is actually located in a sense, not that it's a physical thing, but more it's a heart-mind experience together. And we feel that when we get uncomfortable, we sometimes notice a tightness, in the chest, something like that. So again, how then do you want to contribute? What do you want to add in? What can I do in a positive way to do it? And see if you can do something. Get creative. I'd love to hear different stories of what worked. This is how we'll be happier. Questions, comments, please, anything. Just feel to unmute if you want to add something or ask a question. Okay, everybody okay? So another thing I'd like to work with is the Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path. Okay. Now, this is the basic trajectory of the Buddha Dharma. Okay, the Buddha gets enlightened. He teaches at Sarnath, India, the Four Noble Truths. Okay. First truth, there is suffering. Okay. Second truth, there's a cause to the suffering. Third truth, there is an end to the suffering. Thank you for that, right? We're not stuck with number 1 and 2. There's an end to the suffering. And number 4, there's a path to the end. And it's all laid out for us right now. All there for us right now. Okay? So Shakyamuni Buddha manifested, got enlightened. Thank you so much for that. And in this particular manifestation, he teaches the entire path, including Tantra. That's the quickest path to enlightenment. Everything is here. They say there will be other Buddhas that manifest, right? They don't teach Tantra. But we have everything right now. This is something you can plug your life into. I'm not kidding. Okay? But you have to figure out, what can I do to plug my life into it more if you find it makes you happier? That's our responsibility to some degree. But that's what lights us up. Now what happens is we have other habits. We have lots of other habits. And the habits grow and they take over. And, I give you, all right, I'll reveal one of my habits. I've been doing this as a kid. My mom and I used to do crossword puzzles. Okay? So sorry, I like to do the New York Times crossword puzzle once a week. Once a week. Am I addicted to it a little bit? Yeah, a little bit I am. I'm just being honest with myself. It's one of my pleasures. It doesn't really harm anybody. It doesn't harm me. Takes a little bit of time to do it. You could add up all that time and go, oh, you could have done a 3-year retreat by now, Amy. Okay, well, I'll deal with that. I'll deal with that when I'm passing away, okay? But again, one of life's little pleasures that little mundane samsaric thing I do, innocuous. Sometimes I miss it, but, I once in a while, I don't always do it on Sunday, but sometimes I get to it sometime during the week. That's it, like that. So look at those habits, and if they're really taking over, too many of them, too many time wasters. I've talked about this before. We have to start making some adjustments. And they're hard to make in the beginning. It's hard to get started because every night you go, this is what I do when I get in bed, and I space out and I start live streaming. People tell me I live stream this garbage TV shows and this thing, and I like that one, and I'm really into reality shows. And who needs reality shows? Look at the world right now. Like, why do we need these reality shows? Okay, but you have your escapism. So which of your escapism, because we need breaks. We need breaks. Okay, self-care is important on this path, please. Self-care is really important right now. Okay, to keep you balanced so that you can contribute to unifying elements. Self-care. So, but let's look at the self-care. Are there some time-wasting habits that aren't really that beneficial? And I could wind down a few of them, okay? I noticed during the pandemic, and here's what I did notice, is with puzzles, okay? For some reason during the pandemic, I think again kindness, the Philadelphia Inquirer sent out a supplemental puzzle section. They sent it like, I'm guessing twice, but it had several pages of puzzles, crossword puzzles, other kinds of puzzles. I don't know what kind of, Sudoku, whatever they were, right? And I was there I was like glommed into the pages of doing, and then I kind of went, what am I doing? Like 1 a week is enough for me. That was my decision. 1 a week was enough. But there's many things where like, I do this every night, I do it every morning. I get up and I want to, and I've got to do it. Just see, how is it making your mind feel? Please check, how is it making my mind feel? You have to check that yourself. I can't tell you. And I'm not going to say it's good or bad. I'm not going to say crossword puzzle's good or bad, because it's not. It doesn't inherently exist at all, good or bad, right? That's just my habit, like that. Some people have a croissant every morning. That's their habit. It's not good or bad. I mean, eventually your cholesterol might have an effect, but I'm not going to label it good or bad. So you yourself, get real with yourself Again, you don't need to reveal any of this stuff. It's your own little thing. Keep a little notebook if you want, and practice as best as you can. Just pick. Don't rashly. Some of you are going to cold turkey. I'm done with the phone. Okay, you know, maybe that's not reasonable. I would just whittle down. You know, if you're a cold turkey person and you want to say, I'm not doing that show anymore, I'm done. Fine, that if that works for you. I would just borrow. I'm going to use the word borrow. Take 15 or 30 minutes from one of those activities and shift it. Get that Dharma book out you've always wanted to read. Take it off the bookshelf now, put it right in the middle of your desk or near the bedside table. Get it out now. Get your bookmark ready for it, whatever you're doing, and just make a little commitment. You'll read 10 pages a day. That's probably the time you'll spend with whatever. So see if you can shift a little bit. Make sense? You try your best. But the main thing is check your mind. Check your mind. How does your mind feel? Like, how does your mind feel back in your habit? Because I know sometimes I have to say honestly, with the crossword, I'll look at it or something, and then I'll go, do I need to do this right now? You know, and then I don't do it. I'll go, let me wait. And then if I die before I get to doing it, I'll be happier in some way, because I'll be like, I didn't have to waste another time doing it. But sometimes it's the perfect thing that I need. I can't, I'm brain dead. I don't want to, I'm like, okay, it's a crossword. Like that. So see how your mind feels after you do the thing that you're doing. Is it really a time waster, or is it, or I've whittled it down now that I'm only going to do it when I'm really tired, or when I don't, you know, I've finished all these other things, then I'll kind of have my little break. Okay, number 2, self-care. I mentioned the word self-care. So what are you doing for self-care? Because I find that the people I know that binge watch and are streaming and streaming and streaming, they feel more numb and kind of really lazy. They're eating more. They're not, they say, oh, my back hurts. I'm lying in bed watching these. So please check again. How does body and mind feel after doing some of those activities? What are the activities? You know, and what would you consider your self-care activities? If you want to state out loud and say in a couple weeks, what, you know, you want to check, what about this activity? One thing I noticed, I moved out here late September last year from Pennsylvania to California, moved back out here. I didn't have to stay, you know, I'm trying it to see whether I'll stay longer. But this center needs a lot of help. And sometimes I feel like I'm in the perfect place. I get to work in this beautiful place with like-minded people, with Buddhists, which was kind of missing from where I was living in Pennsylvania. That was a big factor. I didn't have a Buddhist community as much there. There are some Buddhists around, but there just weren't as much, you know. So it's like, then we're working on this incredible project. This place has more potential than any center I've ever been around. It's extraordinary. It's really extraordinary, and I get excited thinking about it. And some of the things we're doing, it's exciting. Is it hard work? Yeah. Is it grueling? Yeah. Okay. Sometimes not going well. Well, I could say all of that, but then, and what happens is I stopped getting exercise. First I was commuting 4 months across town because I wasn't living here. I was commuting, driving more. Gas prices were high. I was kind of like, California was different than I remembered. It was on and on. I could say all that. And finally I moved here, and then slowly adapting and adjusting, but the center's still quite closed because we don't have staffing. We don't have, like, normally at a center every day there's a lunch prepared and you eat together with other people and you build community. We haven't had that at all since I've been here. Very little. Once in a while one of us will cook like that. We had a leaking propane range until I think April. Okay, so it's all, so there's exciting things. There's a new range. You know, we just hired a cook for part-time, and I just talked to her, and I know her, and she's lovely, and she cooked here before, and she's a great cook. So she came in, and then I went into the kitchen, and I said, what do you think of the range? And she said, oh my God. Like, it's like so there's these things. So I'm like, what better thing can my teacher asked me to do this. I'm like, what better thing is there to do? But then, you know, you go 2 steps forward, one step back. I do the one step back where I'll go, I'm not really happy with that, you know. And then my mind will have its little, don't over elaborate that negative story. I just watch it rather than taking it on and ruminating. Nope, self-care. What do, I go out for a walk, go for a hike. Beautiful hiking place here. Go for a hike, go for a walk, get some exercise, get outside into nature. This is a season, we can do it in most places. Okay, go out, look at the trees, look at the flowers, look at the birds. Look, it totally changes my mind just to get it. And just the body feels better, than just sitting there at the desk. Give yourself some space to do it. It's really, really important. My whole body feels better. When I stop doing it, everything starts hurting. So if you're able to do it, I know some of you, not all of you are able to do that. Do what you can. Do what you can. If it's simply you're allowed with one doctor and you take one weight and you're allowed to move one thing like that, then just do that once in a while. Like that. Just a little bit of movement. I just find, and it gets me into my body and out of my mind, and all the thoughts can go. So figure out some healthy self-care tips. Maybe once in a while it means putting the chocolate away. Maybe it means having a bath, cooking a really good meal, picking up the phone and calling that friend on that list you haven't talked to in a long time that you really want to connect with, whatever else it is. This summer, going to the beach, making a fire on the beach, or walking your dog, playing with your cat, like that. So, eightfold noble path. I want to incorporate these through. Just where did I put my notes on the? Here we go. So I want you to think about when I mentioned the Four Noble Truths, first teaching the Buddha gave, first teaching in Sarnath, India. So number one was there's suffering. So when you get into the space of that whole list we just mentioned, that I'm going to write up for you, just so we can kind of have a look and work through each of the ones. What do we want to do with this? I think it'll be helpful. We're going to try to continue this class further through to near the end of the year. We'll see. I might be doing a little traveling, and we'll see, but maybe I can continue on Zoom. But basically, it'll roll right to the end of the year until I say, okay, this is our last class. And then we can pick it up again next year, like that. I think it'd just be useful to have some sort of device that's not just anchored around a certain Buddhist topic. Make the list. So here's the thing. You look at the list. I don't know if you guys ever showed up, but this is samsara. Okay, I'm sorry to break it to you. Okay, samsara. Once again, samsara, Sanskrit word to cycle, to turn. That's all it means, is to turn, to cycle. But what are we cycling through? Is cyclic existence. What's the essence of that? Birth, old age, sickness, death. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not saying there's not a miracle birth. Some of you have kids, whatever. Joanne, did birth hurt? Having your kids?
I'm muted. I had C-section, so you'd better believe it did.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go. No question, C-sections hurt.
Yeah.
My friends that didn't have C-sections said it hurt. So again, Carolyn's nodding her head. Yes, she remembers. Absolutely. Again, so all of this is suffering. So as a human being that shows up with what's called contaminated aggregates, that means my body and mind is in the nature of suffering, okay? Doesn't have a realization of emptiness, the nature of reality. I'm not laying a trip on you. You're fine because you have Buddha nature. However, as a human being, what it means is I make mistakes. I am flawed. That's all. That's natural for a human. I accept that about myself. Buddha nature, sorry, not Buddha nature. The Buddha's mind is not flawed, perfect. That's where we're headed. But as long as we're not there yet, okay, I'm going to screw up. I do it often. I say the wrong thing to somebody. I think the wrong thought about somebody. I judge somebody, criticize somebody. I get depressed. I feel anxious. Whatever your thing is, whatever you experience, it's natural. And it's very natural right now on the planet. The pandemic is it's not a natural time. We've never been through anything like this before. The planet has never been through anything globally like this before in our existences of the people here. Okay? So this is an unusual time. And here's the thing, adaptation. Some of you are making the most of it. You adapt. Some people don't adapt well. They're not making the most of it. They're struggling. The fear factor comes in, the depression, the anxiety. And some people, due to karma, which is Wednesday night's class, if you want to join that, some people, due to karma, just are continually finding themselves struggling. Why? We'll look at that on Wednesday night. Okay, so I want you to think about samsara's nature. We're going to talk more about that. Okay, so when you keep showing up as I want everything to be happy, everything's got to go my way. I want things to be perfect. I want to be perfect, right? It's just, you're going to set yourself up for misery. Now, here's the thing. Drive yourself to get out of samsara, though, by noticing samsara's nature more and more. Noticing, well, this kind of stinks. I don't want any more. Drive it into your practice then. Because one day you can become a Buddha, then you're perfect. You can be. We're not perfect now in samsara, but one day you can be. You can be. Very significant. Okay. So again, more and more coming into contact with samsara's true nature, I build renunciation. I don't want this anymore. How do I get more of it? Well, doing all those habits that make my mind feel gunky. Yeah, that's how I get there. So moving along the Noble Eightfold Path, we're going to talk more about these. I'm just going to give you a little list right now, but then we're going to go into slowly. Right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And what I want to start with, and these are laid out in a sense according to what's called the 3 higher trainings. 3 higher trainings. Ethical conduct, number 1. Concentration, number 2. Okay. And wisdom, number 3. 3 higher trainings. And I know Buddhism has the 3 of this and the 6 of that and the 7 of that. Relax. It's okay. We'll say them over and over. That's why the teachers teach the same things over and over and over. And eventually it goes in, unless you study more and more, but it's totally fine. Ethical conduct. Sometimes we call it good morality, ethical discipline, all the same. So as we start to show up of how can we create unifying elements and be part of that, okay, it's going to take a lot of your ethical conduct to get real with yourself as well. So we'll talk about that. And one of the things I want to talk about starting with is right speech, part of that ethical conduct, right speech. We're going to focus on that first. So we're going to slowly move through some of these, right speech. Okay. Right speech, and I'll go through this next week again and review. Let me just give you a sense. Right speech means an abstention from telling lies, from backbiting and slander, and talk that may bring about hatred, enmity, disunity. There's that word again, disconnection, disharmony, okay, among individuals or groups of people. Okay, it's really powerful, the backbiting and slander, but think about it, that brings about all these really negative spaces of mind. Talking about people behind their back. We've all been there, we've all done it. Not everybody, but a lot of people do it. Okay, here's more about right speech. Okay, abstention means I'm refraining from, okay, harsh, rude, impolite, malicious, and abusive language. Number 4, I refrain from idle, useless, foolish, and I'll say meaningless babble, gossip. Okay? That's the kind of stuff we're abstaining from, we're refraining from. When one abstains from these forms of wrong and harmful speech, one naturally has to speak the truth, has to use words that are friendly and benevolent, words that are pleasant and gentle, that are meaningful and useful, words that bring people together too. So one should not speak carelessly. Speech should be at the right time, the right place. And if you can't say something useful, okay, better to maintain a noble silence. So I'm going to stop there. I want you to just think about that. Think about right speech through the week. We're going to talk more about it and use it more next week, but a few exercises. Jot down what some of you are jotting down, feel free. And then you'll get a reminder again in case you forgot the exercises. But it's really nice if you can start practicing right now and start noticing the positive elements of where you, I mean, I've seen people, somebody just the other day, somebody helped somebody with a walker to get across the street. Somebody went back to get this, to help this person. They were, I could see they were in a rush and they went back and helped this person. I was so touched by that. You know, today I happened to be driving and on the corner, a guy had like a veteran's bag and he was older. He wasn't a young veteran, but he had a sign. And the sign said, I'm a veteran and I need $49 for the bus to get home. Now, you might say, and I had time sitting there and his bag looked a little bit too new. He was older, which was a little confusing. He was well dressed. And I was kind of like, don't the Veterans Affairs or something give him money to get home or wherever? But who knows? Like he might have been a homeless person that decided to go home. Whatever. I didn't care, and I had time at the light, whatever it was, and I quickly reached in my bag and I opened that window and gave him $5. Connection. Again, I'm not a straight, it was just a simple gesture. It's not a big deal. I like to give people like that offerings, whatever, and connection. Something I could just quickly do. We see these people all the time with their signs and you go, but do you ever look at them? Because that's something I can also offer. Sometimes I'm not going to give money or I'm going, but I look at them. I might wave to them. This is the unseen people. People don't want to see them. You walk by homeless people. I don't want to be, it's depressing. Sure, of course. Okay. So again, little connective things that we can all do that we can. How does your mind feel from it? Just see. Okay, we're going to dedicate. Let's dedicate the merit. In the future, I'll share some dedication prayers as well, but I'd like to dedicate right now and especially want to dedicate. I've made a new prayer list. I was so proud of myself today. Finally got that together. Watch, I won't be able to find it. Here it is. I'd like to dedicate, first of all, that whatever positive energy we've created from our time together this evening, thank you so much for joining. May we use this in our practices to wake up our interest in our practice, to find some time to meditate, to just be quiet with ourselves and watch what's going on and notice what activities suddenly was I doing I wasn't happy with. What can I do with that? What kind of practices can I learn to purify, to antidotes like that? We're going to learn more of those in this class, in these classes. And I'd like to dedicate whatever merit or positive energy to help us invigorate the practice to get us to enlightenment quickly so we can benefit all living beings perfectly. I'd like to dedicate to the thriving of all of our centers everywhere, harmony at and among all of our centers, especially Land of Medicine Buddha. And I'd like to dedicate to Ben Paulsrod, who just committed suicide in California, very sad, to my dear friend Robert Katzenson, who passed away a couple weeks ago in Holland, and Andrew Valdique, who is soon approaching his 49th day in the Santa Cruz area, who passed away. May they quickly take a good human rebirth to get enlightened to benefit all. And Josh Havalesko, who is related to somebody here who's paralyzed, young guy paralyzed from an accident, who's really struggling in New York. and all the people right now that need additional healing, two of whom are here with us online right now. So can they, and I dedicate to them personally every day, for their well-being, their good health, long, long lives like that, in good health like that, and all the other people that need that type of healing, and for the long lives of our precious teachers. Thank you so much for joining. Michael, thank you so much for hosting as well. Thank you, Samantha, here for helping with the setup and the put away. Thank you all for joining. And feel free, if you've got a friend you think would be helpful, they can drop in anytime, and we will be back in 2 weeks. If you're interested, Wednesday night, 6:30 is a class on karma. Saturday morning meditation at 9, and we've got a lot of other programs at LMB that you can find. And if you're also interested, I am leading a pilgrimage next year to Nepal, to Laudo. It'll be late April into the middle of May, and you can find the info on, I'll just put this website in the chat. It's different than LMB. And you can ask me any questions about that. Thank you so much, and it's lovely to see all of you from all over the country. Please have a good rest of your evening, and please be well.
Thank you.